I did a series of tests over a 2-month period, and that's when they conclusively diagnosed me with rheumatic heart disease. So I was put on monthly injections. I was supposed to take the injections until I'm 18 years old, I believe. They are to boost the functioning of the heart to see if it could improve. But after like 2 years, it was getting worse. So at that point, they told my parents, look, there's nothing much we can do. The only other recommendation now is to do a heart surgery. A heart surgery and insert a pacemaker. The pacemaker, then we were told, would probably, if the surgery is successful, would probably last about 10 years. And then you have to redo the surgery, in which case your chances of survival keep diminishing. So pretty much my lifespan then at that time was looking at anything between 25, 30 if I'm lucky. And so my parents had to make a decision either to watch me die at a very young age or to go through with the surgery so that at least they could buy me some time. This year I'm turning 40. I feel like I just found my purpose. I look back and I'm like, okay, what was I doing the last 40 years, you know? I wish I knew what I know now when I was in my 20s. I feel like I would have lived a very authentic life. My name is Rossete Momanyi. I'm an entrepreneur currently. Been in the corporate scene for over 13 years, then managed to overcome my fear, came out here, and for the last 3 years, embraced the entrepreneurial journey. Currently, I'm a manufacturer of organic beauty products. I'm obsessed with nature. I call myself a nature addict, basically. I go to nature for healing, I go to nature for recreation, I go to nature to calm myself and to find my peace, and I believe out of that, I found my purpose. It is important for me to share my journey because I feel like some of this information that we take for granted could actually save somebody's life. So I believe I was a smart kid in school, very smart kid. Went to good schools, a national school. Obviously, the next natural progression was get a job, which I did. And I've honestly been blessed to work with the top corporates in the country, some multinationals, very good brands. I was extremely proud of myself. My family was extremely proud of myself because most of this I never had like a godfather or anything. It's just out of, experience and all. And I did that for over 13 years. Very nice environment. I still believe I got my best experiences in life and exposure through the corporate world. Now, the one thing that was very weird is that deep down, I wasn't happy. And I would excel in all my roles. I did very well. But I wasn't happy. I always knew I wanted to do more. I just couldn't put, pen and paper to it. But I always knew I wanted to build something of my own. I wanted to work for myself. I believed I had more to give. But then fear. Fear of failure held me back for all those years. Fear of not being enough. Fear of letting down the people around me who really believed in my potential, who saw my potential in the corporate world. So that kept me in the corporate world for the longest. And when I came out in 2019 and decided now I need to pursue that inner voice that's telling me I need to do more. There's something more I can give to the world. I wasn't too sure what it was. I still packaged what I was doing in corporate to come out and give to the world. And unfortunately, during Corona, that didn't go too well. And I still had this imposter syndrome that I had to work with somebody else because I was not good enough. I could not do this by myself. So of course I failed. I've had so many failures between the time I left corporate up until sometime last year. So many failures, lost so much money here and there, but never got tempted to go back to corporate. I still knew deep down I needed to pursue this voice that keeps telling me there's something more I can do. This year I'm turning 40. I feel like I just found my purpose. And the thing about it that shocks me is that it has all along been with me. It wasn't rocket science. It's just that these things that we live by and we take for granted and we think it's common sense to everybody. And when we read about it in books, we are told in forums, you think it has to be this grandiose idea that you have to recreate from scratch. But I think purpose is a sum total of the experiences we've had in life that have shaped us into who we are now. And some of those things that we find very passionate, easily passionate, that come to us so naturally that we are able to wake up and do every day without feeling like it's a job. Growing up, we were taught to work hard, go to school, make good grades, find a job, work with a good employer, grow in employment. And I did that. And it was nice. And I kept looking for that next bigger role or promotion. But deep down, I didn't know what it was, to be honest. But I never really felt fulfilled. I knew I wanted to go into entrepreneurship. I knew I wanted to run my own brand. I had several disjointed ideas, but I also worked hard in corporate. I thought maybe if I get a better job, I'll be happier. If I changed employer, I'll be happier. So I changed employers. I eventually worked with a multinational, one of my actually the best employer I ever had, and I'm very happy that I retired from there. I made very good networks. I created very good networks courtesy of that. I grew as a person because I learned to speak up. But the more I stayed in corporate, the more I realized I was unhappy. Something fundamental was missing. And I know there's so many people who feel like that, and you cannot put it to words. You really don't know. It's not that you suck at your job. I was a star performer. But something fundamental was missing. And when my employer announced that they were doing an early retirement package, I jumped on it without really knowing what I was going to do. I was 38. I was 38. No, I was 37. I jumped into early retirement. Of course, they tried to talk me out of it. They're like, you have a bright future ahead of you. You're still at your prime age. Where you're going, you're far from retirement. Your job is still there. It's secure. It's not under threat. But deep down, I knew if I do not take this opportunity, I might never get out. That's how I felt at the time. So during that period, I quickly set up a company, decided that since I've been a business manager for the longest and an executive assistant, I'm going to go out and outsource these services and create this brand. I came out, and because this is something I was doing for the longest, it was natural to me, and that built networks. It started working. But incidentally, I was still unhappy. I felt like I'd moved corporate from the office into my house. So I was still unhappy, and I wondered. I thought if I go into self-employment, I'll be very happy. And then Corona happened, and unfortunately what I had in the pipeline stalled. So it put spanner in the works. I had to quickly think about what else to do. So I found myself jumping from one opportunity to another, trying to figure out how to continue sustaining myself. Coming from an organic background and growing up, I always knew I wanted to have a skincare which was purely organic, but then I didn't know how, because I've always maintained an organic skincare routine, courtesy of my mother. So I'm very good at trying out things in my kitchen. I would go online research, blend this and that, because I suffered problematic skin growing up, and I have a son who was born with eczema. Those who know eczema, it's very stubborn. It's very irritating on the child. And I did not want him to be on steroids. I felt like that was too much for his young system. And I needed to figure out. And coming from a background where I knew that there's alternative ways of treating, So I've tried many creams here and there, organic, some worked, some didn't work, some combinations. So until I found something that worked for him, and I've maintained that. So I always told myself, maybe if I do this, I can also help other people. But I didn't want to do it in my kitchen because I didn't have the scientific knowledge. I wanted to do it professionally. And so when all these other things I was trying to do didn't work, I think sometimes we try to run away from our purpose. I was very disappointed. At some point I thought maybe they were right when they said I belong to corporate. This entrepreneurship, this voice is not working. This voice is misleading. So I started looking for partners, somebody who can help me now do it scientifically, who knows the research behind it, content. If I tell him I want to solve this need in the market, then they can advise me, okay, the contents of that will be A, B, C, D, but purely organic. And through my networks, I was referred to an organic biochemist. And I sat with this guy. It ended up being a 6-hour meeting because he could not fathom the amount of information I had, which had taken him so long to study in school. And that's the day I realized this is actually valuable information that I have. For me, it's been a way of life. So we did a lot of notes. He asked me, so what do you want to start with? I said, I want to start with a skincare package. I want to solve for problematic skin because that's something that has been very hard for me to find in the market. All the products, most of the products that I find, well, they have some level of chemicals. And just like we have a diet that feeds our bodies, we need a diet for the skin. So I want to do a range for the facial skin. And another range I want to do is, we live in a very high anxiety, high pressure society. I want to do an aromatherapy kit that helps people calm their nerves, calm their system, calm their anxiety so that they're able to sleep. Most of us are walking zombies. And so we agreed on a range of products, and that is now my current focus. Sometimes I forget it's a business. I'm so obsessed at creating this range, this product, and putting it out to help people. And that's when it hit me, oh my God, is this what they talk about when they say purpose? Because it no longer feels like a job. I realized that I've been living this all my life. Like I said, I'm a firm believer in connecting with nature. I'm a firm believer in a healthy lifestyle. I'm a firm believer in organic products. I've been recreating this in my own small capacity. And when I started doing that, it had already become an obsession. I already knew ingredients and all this. And when they would work, I would be like, oh my God. And then I would tell my friends, I'll be like, you have this problem, come, I solve it for you. You know, I do so many facials in my house when my friends come over. Like for me, the ability to solve a problem, and I know why skin is important for especially us women, and to solve it in such a simple manner. I can't fathom, like I can't explain that feeling. It gives me such a high. It gives me such a high to know that I'm gonna solve a problem, but in a very simplistic and holistic manner. And it will give value to that person, not only in their outlook, but to just start embracing and changing their mindset into a holistic lifestyle. Because it starts with that one step. You help somebody solve a simple problem. Maybe it is their skin. So it will spark a conversation. And for me, I think that's what's giving me sleepless nights. Just realizing that journey that I walked through growing up to now, it meant a lot, and it's going to impact somebody else. So if I go back, therefore, to my childhood, I grew up in Kisii. To a very beautiful family, and My background, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. So obviously, you know, that was a strict family setup. And my mother especially, for her, church, living healthy, embracing a healthy lifestyle was very, very important to us. And therefore, in Kisii, most people who have homesteads in Kisii would attest to this. You have a small backyard, shamba, garden. In my mother's garden, there was obviously the exotic vegetables, but she also had herbs and fruits. Like it was just a natural setup at the backyard, at our backyard. And at the time, as a young child, I didn't appreciate that very much because the herbs were bitter. And we were made to drink the herbs. Hospital was never the first option. It was so natural to us, and this was not the era of mobile phones, that if you got sick, you would call your mom and say, I'm unwell, I need to see the doctor. So what used to happen is, if you're unwell and the parents are not around, you go to the backyard, pluck the herbs, boil, drink bitter as they are, so that by the time mom or dad is coming back, you report that I was feeling unwell, but I've already taken care of it. The only time we went to hospital was if it was really severe. So that shaped me a lot because it became a way of life. It became a way of life for us, and for the longest time, I thought either maybe we didn't have money, and that's why we were made to drink herbs as opposed to going to hospital like all the other kids, because the herbs were bitter. Or maybe our parents didn't really care much about us. It never occurred to me that it was a good thing at the time. I was young, obviously. And one of the experiences that shaped me during that period, I was at the age of 5 when I started going to school. I was diagnosed with a heart condition called rheumatic heart disease. Now, this happens a lot with small children. It's not curable. Like, there's no known cure. I don't know about now, but then I still believe there's no known cure, because when we went to hospital, and it's a very hard disease to diagnose because it's not painful. It eats the child slowly. It so happened that in primary school, one of the teachers in my class noticed that every time I went out for break, I would play a bit, but I would sit most of the time. And luckily, my mom is a retired teacher. She used to be a teacher in the same school. So being in the same staff room, my teacher mentioned to my mom, something is off with your little girl. She goes out to play, but most of the time she's seated, isolating herself from the rest of the children. It might be a behavioral issue, but still check on it. So my mom was very observant. So she kept observing me. She realized I was doing the same at home. I didn't know it was anything wrong with me because I was not in pain. I thought it's normal for every child. You feel tired, you sit down, then you continue. So, but after she observed for a period, she decided to get it checked. Now remember, we live in Kisii. It's a small town. Getting special attention, medical attention, is not easy. So I remember we went to so many hospitals and they could not diagnose. They couldn't find anything wrong with me until we went to this Indian doctor who suspected. So I was given a referral to come to Nairobi for further tests, just to rule out. He told my mom, look, it could be nothing, but behavior like this in a child could also indicate something, because at this age, a child should be playful. So my mom, I remember that was my first trip to Nairobi. I was excited to see the tall buildings, nice city and all. I didn't know there was anything wrong with me. And so we went, saw a cardiologist. I did a series of tests over a 2 months period. And that's when they conclusively diagnosed me with rheumatic heart disease. So I was put on monthly injections. I was supposed to take the injections until I'm 18 years old, I believe. They are to boost the functioning of the heart to see if it could improve. But after like 2 years, it was getting worse. So at that point, they told my parents, look, there's nothing much we can do. The only other recommendation now is to do a heart surgery. A heart surgery and insert a pacemaker. The pacemaker, then we were told, would probably, if the surgery is successful, would probably last about 10 years. And then you have to redo the surgery, in which case your chances of survival keep diminishing. So pretty much my lifespan then at that time was looking at anything between 25, 30 if I'm lucky. And so my parents had to make a decision either to watch me die at a very young age or to go through with the surgery so that at least they could buy me some time. So we went back to Kisii. I was wondering why they looked very defeated. I didn't know. I wasn't in pain. I didn't know what they discussed with the doctors. But I remember going back to Kisii and never coming back for the treatments. We stopped the monthly injections. My mom went into a lot of prayer, and then she consulted my grandmother. Remember, we come from a background of Seventh Day. Part of the trainings we receive is organic, healthy living. We are very attuned to, herbs, fruits, vegetables, the art of drinking water, all those. I know my mom sat with my grandmother and had a chat with her and asked her when this used to happen back in the day, heart problems. What were you giving? What was the medication? And that's how I got into a herbal regime, very bitter herbs. Oh my God, I really did not like my parents at that time. Because I was so young, she put me in this sort of a program, I would say, for about 6 months, where she would wake me up very early in the morning. I would have my first glass of water at about 5 a.m. It's something I still do now, because it started when I was about 6, going 7. And initially it was very distasteful, like I would throw up and she would still come back and give me that glass of water. I needed to clean my system in the morning, detoxify, then start my morning routine where I would have the herbs, and we changed my diet purely into a vegetarian diet from the advice of my grandmother and the ladies in her quarter that she consulted. And we did this for about 6 months. And for some reason, I started feeling a bit more energetic. And I remember one day my dad and my mom having a conversation, and between them, they're like, is she gaining weight? Or, So we decided to go back and check medically to see if I was still dying or that was the medication, the herbs were working. That was after 6 months of now being in this program with my mom. Luckily, because she was a teacher in the same school, she went and gave instructions that I wasn't allowed to play in the heat, in the cold. There was a lot that I had to adhere to. So she closely monitored me in school. I wasn't allowed to have this sugary stuff. I wasn't allowed to have junk stuff. And so after 6 months when we went back, I remember the look in the doctor's face, because they could not understand. They could not understand that the little girl they dismissed 6 months ago, number one, was still alive because they had not seen my parents come back. And number two, was looking much better than they anticipated. So they said, well, let's keep monitoring. Come back after another 6 months. So we went back. I continued the program with my mother for another 6 months. A year went by, 2 years, 3 years. I did my national exams, went to high school. My parents were very scared because they thought I would be a sickling in school, but I really insisted I wanted to go to boarding, so they allowed me. I went through boarding, and when I went to boarding, I stopped going for the checkups because now I was in boarding school, I was in high school. I'd been okay for so many years. I was still partly in the program because I was still doing my water every day, 12 glasses of water. I was not allowed to be in a stressful environment so that it can raise my anxiety levels. I was still doing vegetarian meals up until I went to high school. And so I maintained that for that period. And eventually, when we went for a checkup after so many years, I remember one of the doctors calling my mom aside and asking her to be honest. She was like, there has to be something you did with this child. We've never seen a child get cured of rheumatic heart disease. Most of them die by 10. And if they go through the surgery, then their lifespan is very short and they're very sickly throughout their lifestyle. So my mom opened up and said, look, I can only attest to maybe God's favor and herbal medication. We just went back to the natural way of living. So that's what she's been doing. Just, organic, natural way of living. And that's when I realized that I was actually healed. Because all along I still carried myself with that inner thought that I'm still a sick child. But at that point I realized, oh my God, I'm actually free of this disease. And it was a very good moment, I must say. So long story short, I'm turning 40 this year, still alive. Still embracing that organic. Not so strict anymore. I mean, I do have, but because I was brought up that way, it sort of became a way of life for me. I'm very big on drinking my water. I'm very big on disappearing into nature because that's something I used to do with my mom every so often. I'm very big in my prayer journey. I'm very, very big in healthy eating, having my meals early before bedtime. It's so natural to me. And over time, I did not realize the impact until when I probably tell people my age and I can see the shock in their face. And as I grow old, I started to introspect and I realized the journey that I took with my mother has had a huge, huge impact on who I am now, my outlook to things, probably even my physical outlook. And yeah, that has really shaped my purpose, which I feel like I just found out at the age of 40. So part of this journey and being, coming from a Seventh-day Adventist background, for the longest time, I didn't feel comfortable talking about diet, organic, because there is a stereotype that is associated with it. It's just only recently that I've realized we are all going back to embracing organic living. People are slowly becoming very, very conscious of their health. And this information is, I realized that I have this information for me, it comes naturally. So, and I've realized the impact of that simple way of living, that just going back to nature and embracing a healthy lifestyle. I've realized the long-term effects and benefits, and it's becoming slowly easy to talk about. I mean, this has got nothing to do with being an SDA or what the SDAs believe or not believe, because I know courtesy of the upbringing I had, I can't stand coffee, for example. Naturally, I don't do pork. It was a way of life. But with the current rate of diseases, I mean, cancer was unheard of. Young people are dying of high blood pressure. There's a lot of pressure in the world. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of tension. And we've borrowed so much heavily from the West. And so we've transferred all those problems here. And unfortunately, I feel like we borrow without guidance. It has forced people now to start reflecting on good eating habits, on good healthy habits. Slowly, fitness has become a thing. People are going back to the gym. People are embracing keeping their body fit. And with that comes also diet. People are starting to realize why it's very important to maintain a good diet, because the body is not going to be fueled on, the body is fueled on good diet. We build our body systems and bodies through good diet. So that has made it easier now to demystify this notion that SDA is cultic in their healthy habits. I believe now it's a conversation that's on the table, and it's very, very pertinent that we have this conversation and we start it young. I think my mission is to, now that I realize the impact it had in my childhood and therefore into my adulthood, My mission would be for parents to embrace this early. Have the kids start to embrace, because you grow with it. It becomes part of life. When you start embracing it at a much older age, it could easily be too late in the day. And it's much harder to change lifestyle and habits. Habits are created over time. So if as parents we can start embracing this at a very young age, one, we avoid a lot of diseases. Two, we avoid a lot of this anxiety and pressure that we are going through. And what I like about the Seventh-day Adventist training, we are taken through the good and the bad. Not all herbs are good for consumption. So you must be guided. And then also people assume that because it's organic, you can overconsume it. Not necessarily. There's also limits to that. I mean, the saying goes, anything in excess could be dangerous. Now with technology, we can do better. Now with information and education, you can actually tap into science using organics and produce very authentic and organic products. And that's why it was important for me, even as I was coming up with an organic skincare line, to partner with an organic biochemist. And honestly, some of the best experiences I've learned in life, I don't regret being in corporate. I learned structure. I learned the art of time management. I learned teamwork, the power of networking, and generally, overall, just respecting authority. So there's a lot that corporate taught me that I've borrowed and taken into now my entrepreneurial journey, and I believe has helped me propel faster. But now on the downside, and one of the things that really pushed me out of corporate is high pressure. For me, when I became a mother, I realized the only time I had with my son was in the evening after 7 o'clock, which was his bedtime. I believe in going to bed early. That's one of the things that, simple routine activities that we need to embrace, I believe. So the only other time I would see him was weekends, but I had work carried from the office that needed to be done as well. So I would see him for 2 minutes and I need to be alone to work. And over time it started eating into me because I realized he was being molded by other people other than me. Striking a balance, it is possible to strike a balance in corporate, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot. We need to find time for family. In as much as we're in employment and it's important, that's what's going to feed us. But you lose family time, you can never recover. As parents, we are losing touch with our children. We cannot bend a tree when it's already grown. Some of these things need to start from a very early age. Some of the things I feel like I've passed on to my son. When I wake up in the morning, because he's used to seeing me do that, so now he's also learned to do it. The first thing he does when he wakes up, he has a small cup. He drinks water before he goes to school. And in between, he carries a water bottle. He's become it's so natural to him even when he's at home and he's playing outside. He would run back, wash his hands, take water, then go back out. Because I know what that does to our system. 3 times a week in the evening when he comes from school, we take a walk around the block. And whenever we find grass, we remove our shoes. We step down and connect with nature. Our meals, we take our last meal at 5:30 in the evening. It's not healthy to go to bed with a very heavy stomach. You need to allow your body to have processed the food before you go to sleep. It's extremely important that children get more than 8-9 hours of sleep. Let's remove them from the gadgets. The gadgets are killing their creativity. I mean, growing up, we used to play with what we found. We were very creative. And I believe that helped us, to build resilience, to build creativity. But nowadays you find kids have gadgets, they're not exposed to dirt, mud, being creative, hurting, getting over it. We've sort of really overprotected them so much, it is detrimental to them. It is very, very detrimental to them. So some of these small, small habitual things, like I said, habit builds character. If we have to take a step back and just instill some of this, because they become habitual, it's not an effort anymore. It will really, really go a long way in shaping them for the future. Having a healthy, balanced lifestyle. Kids are committing suicide. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. It was not something that ever crossed our minds, and yet we had a very tough upbringing. But now kids are committing suicide. They believe they have rights. They're watching a lot of misleading content online, which is not guided. Their mind is not ready for that level of, because they cannot sieve out what is good for them and what is not. So there are simple ways of guiding them through life and giving ourselves opportunities to actually be parents in that process. So yeah, it's important that we disconnect them from the gadgets and reconnect with them. I believe we don't tap too much into our creative juices because we are constantly in the noise. So when you're constantly in the noise, you're constantly working to catch up and to sieve out the noise. But if you take yourself out of the noise and actually go have a quiet moment in nature, then you're able to really tap into your inner soul and bring out that which was intended for you to live as a purpose in this life. I keep telling people, for me, and I'm not discrediting therapists, they're there for a reason, but I find my therapy in nature. It is way, way more therapeutic for me than, sitting in a fancy office and having a one-on-one conversation. I don't like sitting in four walls. I'd rather walk through trees and and I find that within us we always know what to do. Sometimes we just go for validation from other people, but when I sit in that quiet space, I'm able to introspect. I'm able to calm myself. I'm able to come up with solutions. So unless I'm unable to, at that point, is when I can go to someone else and say, hey, I have this problem. Because when we listen to the noise most of the time, it's very distracting. Very distracting in the sense that you already know the options, but you're bringing on other options. So then whatever becomes too wide, the pot becomes too wide, you're not able to quickly filter the chaff. But I believe when you go into solitude, it might not work for everybody. Some people are extroverted and they prefer to quickly go to seek help because they can't sit by themselves, and it's okay. But I believe when you find that space and that solitude and that connection with nature and God, you're quickly able to diffuse the chaff. Unless now the problem is to a magnitude where I feel like I probably need external help. Most of the time I find that I can find a solution if I go into that solitude and prayer. I've created a brand called Sorano Organics. And my mission with Sorano is to create organic products for problematic skin and for aging skin. The reason why I do that, many women lack confidence and are unable to become their authentic selves because they are so conscious of their outlook. So if we are able to help them with their outlook, we can then spark these conversations of, can we also talk about your mental health? Can we also talk about the small, small things that you can change in your lifestyle to help you then live a holistic life? So my first skincare range is a 4-piece, a facial kit which has a cleanser. Cleanser is like the soap. The cleanser is basically for removing the normal dirt that we walk around, we accumulate during the day. The reason why I thought of doing a cleanser is because we have very harsh cleansers in the market. So this is purely vegetable based. It is therefore gentle for all skin types. We've tested on both sensitive skin, acne-prone skin, and all types of skin because it's purely vegetable based and therefore it has no harsh ingredients. We have not even put preservatives in our products. So we have hemp seed oil, bamboo, mulberry, licorice, and infused with select essential oils. And the formulation of this is done in partnership with a biochemist, not just, I see a lot of people doing a lot of DIYs, which is okay, but the challenge or the risk with doing a DIY is not knowing what quantities are safe for the skin. So it was important for me to go into the lab with a professional, have a chat with him, tell him what exactly I'm trying to resolve for, and for him to advise and guide. These are the required quantities. You cannot put more than, for example, 2% of essential oils into vegetable oils. And therefore, when we did this range, the first thing I did was call some of my friends and some of my clients, former clients who had problematic skin, and test on them. And we have received so many positive reviews. It has given me so much confidence to go out into the market and happily say that we're able to resolve for problematic and aging skin. When I say aging skin, most of us don't use anti-aging. Or the anti-aging ingredients that we use sometimes are chemical based. But we have simple oils that have such strong anti-aging. And that really motivated me to put across this skincare range. So I have this soap, 0 chemicals, no preservatives, purely vegetable based, therefore very good for both sensitive skin, acne-prone skin, and all skin types. Other than the soap, I also have a toner. Now, the toner contains rose water, chamomile, very organic and authentic. What does a toner do? Once you cleanse, you tone your face with this. It's a spray. It tightens the pores so that your pores are not exposed to picking bacteria from the environment. So the toner tightens your pores. It also has anti-aging benefits. It also unclogs your pores so that your pores are able to breathe. And it also prepares your skin for further treatment. By further treatment, I mean the oils, the serums, the moisturizers. It's very important to have a toner. After toning, I think this is actually my favorite. This was my first product to create. I call it Miracle Facial Oil. Miracle because the oils that we've infused here, they literally give your skin a well-balanced diet. By well-balanced diet, I mean they are antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, anti-aging, anti-clogging. Very rich, organic, purely organic oils. So after you tone, then you use your facial oil. This is a daily routine. And then finally, I have I call it a dual scrub stroke mask. This is for use once in a week. Women would know that it's very important to exfoliate your skin. By exfoliating, I mean removing dead skin. Because when you have problematic and sensitive skin, our pores tend to clog a lot faster. And when they do that, then the sebum which is being overproduced by our bodies does not have access to come out. So it's important then to scrub your face to remove the dead skin, open up your pores so that the sebum which is being overproduced by the system has an outlet, is not forcing itself out through breakouts. This was inspired by one of the products that I used to get from an organic shop in Oregon. It is purely organic. This is ground oats, the oats that we eat. They're very gentle on the skin. Sweet orange peelings, ground sandalwood, and also bentonite clay. So you just form a paste, scrub your face, leave it on for like a further 5 minutes for it to detoxify the skin, and then wash it off. So this is my skincare range. So it is a it sounds heavy, but it's because I'm going into the detail of it. If I were to demonstrate, I do this in 5 minutes every morning, because we all wash our face every morning. When you wake up, the natural thing is to wash your face. You use a soap, so you can use the cleanser. You just pump the cleanser into your palms, it lathers, you wash your face with running water. This is a toner. As soon as you finished washing your face, you just spray this on your face. That literally took what, 10 seconds, 5? And most of us have some form of oil or moisturizer that we put on our face. So then you use this oil. Just a few drops in your palm, and then you dab in, and you're good. Because this one is just once a week. It is now to exfoliate the dead skin. When you're not in a hurry, you can do this in the house. But otherwise, the daily routine involves these 3, and it's literally a 5 minutes affair. I keep telling people there's a difference between, you can see 2 people, and allow me to use this example, I hope it doesn't trigger anyone. You might find a 25-year-old who already has a skin, or their skin looks like a mature person. And sometimes you find a mature person in their 50s and you go, wow, but you look 25. The difference is in the daily skincare routine. So I'm encouraging young girls to start early, because then the ripple effect and the long-term effects will show in your later years. In as much as I've created this organic skincare routine, it's important that then we have a deeper, it sparks a conversation. You can be hooked on to skincare routines, but the real impact comes then in a total lifestyle change. Skin needs hydration. Yes, the toner will hydrate you, but this is topical. It is very important for you to drink your water. It is very important for you to detoxify your body through exercise, because we accumulate a lot of toxins, and as we age, it becomes harder and much harder to detoxify. So then being active really, really goes a long way. And you will notice, by the way, if you improve on your water intake and your exercise, even your skin glows. Having healthy meals, I know it's a challenge for most of us, but what I normally say, and I understand there's all these weight loss programs, all these programs and whatever, they're good and they're important, but I believe what really works is managing our portions and watching our timings when we have our meals, not going to bed in a heavy stomach. Even basics as getting enough sleep will show in your overall outlook. So yes, it's very important to embrace a holistic lifestyle. Like I said, I'm turning 14 in September, and when I look back, a lot of what has shaped me now is just that holistic lifestyle. I may have strayed here and there. I'm not claiming to be a saint or perfect, but overall and generally, I automatically maintained a certain lifestyle courtesy of how my mom brought me up, maybe because of being a Seventh-day Adventist, because these are some of the things which are deeply engraved in our walk in the Adventist journey. And therefore now it's gotten to a point where I'm realizing I could easily share this, and people can relate. Some of the reviews that I've received, somebody called me and told me, I feel like you've lifted a huge weight off my shoulder. I'm able to walk around without makeup now, because most of us hide behind heavy makeup because we are scared of the world seeing us in our naked skin. So one is to boost confidence, but boost it in a way that you know, I'm just bringing out your natural beauty. I'm not enhancing it using chemicals. And this goes a long way in people even being able to express themselves and just generally just feeling good about themselves. Holistically, my intention is to eventually, believe it or not, have an organic sort of spa or retreat center. My main intention is for people to come and experience a holistic lifestyle. There's so much more that goes on beyond just organic facial skincare. I think that for me will be extremely, extremely impactful because, like I said, I didn't know that my growth journey is information that not everyone takes as common. I grew up with it, so I thought it's common sense to everyone else. But I've realized it's not common. So then I need a platform where then I'm able to share this with people one-on-one and then impact them. And hopefully it can cause a ripple effect as they go and impact others. Our social media handles, we're on Facebook and Instagram as Sorano Organics. Our website will be up in a short while, but you can also call me directly on 0721 853 039. It has taken me long to get to where I am, either because of lack of guidance, but mainly because of fear. I just want to challenge, because I know there are so many people out there who have this feeling, I'm not doing the right thing. I'm in it for maybe the check, because we must work to live. But deep down you know you probably need to do more. I would say follow that instinct and follow it early. Pursue it with all the aggression in you, because one day it will pay. Fear rips us of living our true, authentic selves. And now that I know what I know, I feel like my life has just started. I look back and I'm like, okay, well, what was I doing the last 40 years, I wish I knew what I know now when I was in my 20s. I feel like I would have lived a very authentic life. So it's a challenge to everybody who's feeling either stuck or you feel like you're not doing the right thing. Get out and do the right thing before it's too late.